Hi everyone. So I hope you enjoyed our adventures in Excel last week. It is not the absolute that class session was not the absolute last time that we will be touching Excel this semester, because of course for your final projects I expect that you will need to do some of the kinds of analysis that we did with Excel. But we're moving on this week to a program called OpenRefine, and OpenRefine, I'm just going to go ahead and search for it now. OpenRefine is an open source project, which means that it is source available. Anybody can access or modify the code. And it's an open source project, and it is, as it says, a free open source powerful tool for working with messy data. OpenRefine is a really, really great program for doing just that. And while it is not a replacement for Microsoft Excel. So I want to be clear about that up front. The things that we're covering this semester are generally complementary, which means that, it's not that, you use Excel and then you move on to OpenRefine and you never use Excel again. A lot of, basically the things that we have done thus far with Microsoft Excel, the kinds of sort of calculations that we've performed are best performed with Microsoft Excel. OpenRefine is not good at doing those things. However, it is very good at a whole bunch of other things that are really, really important when we're working with data. Specifically, it's very good at kind of cleaning and organizing data and also dealing with larger data sets than Microsoft Excel can easily handle. And documenting our work and performing certain kinds of sort of search and analyses. So it is an open source project. You are more than welcome to download and install it. It's already available on the lab computers, which is obviously where we'll be using it. But what we're going to go through this week is some of the things that OpenRefine is really great for when dealing with data sets. Also we're going to sort of start to touch on our regular expressions, which is a really powerful sort of quasi-programming structure. It is available in basically every programming language, but is very good for kind of sifting and filtering data in a way that's difficult to do otherwise. So to get started, I'm going to go ahead and you won't see it here, but I'm going to click on my OpenRefine icon because I have it open already. And actually, those of you who have worked with it before, one of the tricky things about actually, I'm going to have to quit it and then reopen it. About OpenRefine is that, so OpenRefine actually functions in your browser. It is local in that it doesn't happen on the internet. Oh, no, that's wrong. Okay, that is wrong. I have an old version of this installed. Ah, yes, that's Google Refine. I need OpenRefine. So a bit of history on that. Google actually briefly acquired OpenRefine, the project, several years ago, and then they offloaded it again. So I actually have two things installed on my computer, one of which is Google's version and one of which is the open source version. The open source version is more up to date and is the one that you should use. So this is the interface, and so what I want to highlight here is that we're actually working in a web browser. You can see I'm in a tab here, and that I have this URL up top. This is actually a URL you can bookmark. Once you have launched OpenRefine, this is where the homepage for OpenRefine will always be. Basically, the thing to understand is just that while this is happening in a web browser, that's just the interface. It is local on your computer. So you're not automatically uploading data to the cloud in order to use this. It's just instead of building sort of a heavy front end the way that you have with something like Microsoft Excel, they opted to just use the browser as the interface. It does mean we have to make a few adjustments to the way that we interact with the program, right? So we're not going to do a lot of like copying and pasting, for example. Everything has to be done sort of through the mouse and keyboard, through kind of menu selections rather than keyboard shortcuts, because we're working in a browser and actually not in a desktop program. Now, so one of the things that I want to highlight right off the bat here is that OpenRefine lets us pull different types of data in. And while we can actually put like a URL for a data download in here, we can paste things from the clipboard. So if we copied something, say, out of a text file, we could use that. And in fact, let's look at an example of that. Or we can say this computer and we can use our traditional browse function to look for data. Now, I want to highlight something about this. So it says up here, you know, TSV, CSV, asterisk SV. So this is our first exposure to a programming convention of the asterisk character, which is to mean any. Okay, so asterisk is used to say any character you want. So what they're saying there is basically any delimited file, any separated file. So we talked in class about how, although we often call them CSVs, technically they could have semicolons, or they could have pipes, or they could have tabs, or anything like that. And so this is a shortcut way of saying, you know, whatever delimiter you have, we can deal with it. Also Excel files, JSON, XML, RDF, and RDF is XML. So basically, the other thing that we've talked about in class is how things like JSON and XML are typically used to publish data to the web, not so much for archiving and analyzing data. And that's because, as you've seen in your own JSON exercises, it's a nice structured format, it's pretty readable, and we know that it is a format that is commonly used to publish data that's updated on a regular basis, sometimes, you know, in as little as every 10 seconds, right? So there's a single location and you just get the most recent copy of the file. That's what JSON, and JSON much more than XML these days, is used for on the internet. The trick is that analyzing JSON is actually really difficult to do, right? So if we want to do any summary statistics, if we want to do any analysis, there's no straightforward way to do that until OpenRefine. So I believe that Excel does some of this now, but Refine has been doing it for much longer and is very, very good at it. So let's take an example of this. I want to go back to, before we move on to sort of some of the other features of, City Bike data. Oh, I mean, you know, I'm going to switch over to Chrome because I actually just prefer Chrome. So I guess I have, now see, this is a neat thing, right? This is actually a URL, so I can actually just copy this. I'm going to close my browser here, close Firefox. I don't prefer Firefox these days. And you'll see that when I open it up, it's like, sure, here I am. It's kind of just like launching a program, again, except it's in the browser. So I'm going to go looking for my City Bike data. And I'm going to do an example looking at the JSON, right? So the data we've been looking at thus far is the historical data. We've chosen to look at September. But we have also sort of just briefly taken a look at the station status key, the station status JSON, right? So this is something that is updated. You know, we can see that it was most recently updated at 11:09:40 a.m. If we reload it, you know, this is the execution time. What we're going to see here is there's a last check-in time somewhere. Last communication time, right? So we can see that for example, in this first entry, the last time that it sent data to the server was 11:06 a.m., right? So approximately 3 minutes ago. You know, as we continue to refresh, we can see, oh, actually it didn't update at 11:10, right? So this is you can see that this is really genuinely live updating data. Now, if I wanted to analyze this, I have a couple of options. The thing about JSON, again, is it's just text. So I can actually just use my keyboard shortcuts here. I can do select all and then copy. So Apple A, Apple C on a Mac, or Control A, Control C on a PC. I can actually take this and I can go ahead and say clipboard and paste this in. Okay, now, not very pretty to read, is it, right? You know, I was pretty specific with you all about the formatting of your JSON because, you know, I can kind of get a feel for this, but it's pretty tough to see what's going on. Fortunately, the computer doesn't care at all about that. As long as the characters are correctly positioned, it will be fine. So now I hit next, and it does this, what it calls an uploading process. So again, it says uploading. It's not uploading to the internet. It's uploading to the code that is the OpenRefine program, is the way to think about it. Now, it has correctly detected, notice that off the bat, it has correctly detected that this is a JSON file, right? It knows, just like we do, that, you know, if you see the curly braces, probably you're dealing with JSON. It will check the structure, and, you know, right away it has this option. Now, as a user of this file, I know that I have this thing called station bean list. So we notice this square bracket, right, which is familiar from the list that you all did in your exercises. And I don't really want to look at the whole thing because mostly what I'm interested in are the items in this list, right? So this execution time, again, very similar to the mini exercise that you all did, where it's just saying, look, this is the day that this is the time that you asked for. It was 11:10:30, 11:10 a.m. and here is the status at this moment. So what I do in this case is I'm going to select the object that I'm interested in. So I have a list of objects, and I can see that this object that has altitude, available docks, city, et cetera, right? That's sort of my primary object, right? My whole list is actually just a list of these. There's one for each station. And so I'm going to just click on this. And what it does is it says, okay, that's what you want. This is what it's going to look like as a spreadsheet, right? So automatically, it's probably the only time you're going to hear me use the word magic, it has said, okay, I see that there's a key and an attribute. I'm going to make each key the column header. I'm going to make the value, the key and the value of each attribute. I'm going to make each key the column header. I'm going to make each value and a row entry. And I'm going to do that all the way across. Now you'll notice that we have a lot of column headers that don't have any values, right? There are obviously some available, this is actually a first indicator, right, that there are available data points that are not being published as part of this, right? One that we might be sort of disappointed about is postal code, because postal code is one of our easiest ways to figure out what borough something is in. And given the number of overlap in street names in different boroughs in New York City, this would actually be really interesting. Later this semester, we may get into using geography, so using our latitude and longitude to do that. But just pointing out that we don't have all of the data that we could possibly have because they haven't included it. Whoops. Oh, didn't mean to do that. All right, well, hold on. Let's go back to OpenRefine here. So that could seem like a total disaster, right? I was just looking at this thing and it disappeared. Oh no! Fortunately, the other handy thing about OpenRefine is that it is always saving. So I'm going to go ahead and open a new OpenRefine window, and I actually lost my clipboard entry there. So again, I am going to go ahead actually and bookmark this right away this time. And also because this is going to open in Firefox by default, I'm definitely going to do that. So again, it might seem like a total disaster, but the handy thing is that because it's saving, I can probably just pull that file up again, even though I haven't really done anything with it yet. So let's see. Oh, no, didn't do that. All right, no big deal. Again, copy, paste, right? Go to next. I'm going to select this. I'm not going to leave the project name as clipboard. I'm going to say station beam list city bike. So in file names, as in everything else, being descriptive is important. And of course I would have a documentation file alongside this noting the time that I downloaded it, because that is the one element that I have removed in creating this. And then I say create project, right? And from here, I can do anything that I need to this. So again, you'll notice that I don't have like a big menu up here where I can add and delete things. Instead, we do things like edit column. We say remove this column if I want to get rid of things that are unnecessary. But very handy thing here. So when we come back, I'm also going to, we're going to look at our historical data. So we're going to work with the CSV again, and we're going to look at some of the really handy tools that OpenRefine has for giving us sort of overview descriptions about our data set, and what I like to call the slicing and dicing of that data set very, very quickly, and much, much faster than we could do in Microsoft Excel. So see you in a minute.